Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Our webinar tonight is about side hustles with heart and how to franchise part-time and also teach. My name's Katie from Those Who Can, and I'm really excited about tonight's session because we've had lots and lots of questions from teachers about not wanting to give up the day job. So it was great to talk to these franchisors about exactly how does that look like? Can you franchise and build a business while still teaching? And what's really lovely is all of these people that are speaking with you tonight. Some of them have been former teachers, but they've all built flexible, value-led businesses that are still making a difference in education and still making a difference in the community. So I'm really delighted to be joined tonight with Colin from Choice Home Tutoring, Anne-Marie from Diddi Dance, hiya, Deborah from The Reading Doctor,
Hi.
Laura, we've got from Inventors Makers. Tessa, you can't see on the screen, but I'll bring her in a minute, from MiniMe Mindfulness, and Anna from Kidslingo. So I'm going to start with some introductions. What I'd love to know from each one of you, and Deborah, if you'd like to go first, and then everyone could take it in turns. Could you tell us a bit about your franchise and why it makes a great fit for someone with a teaching background?
Well, first of all, so I'm Deborah, the founder of The Reading Doctor. And first of all, just to say I am a teacher, or I was a teacher, but really importantly, I still identify as a teacher because that was really important to me when I left teaching. So we only have teachers at The Reading Doctor. So we don't have anyone who isn't qualified, doesn't have QTS. So yes, it is completely, perfectly designed for teachers who may have already exited the classroom, or maybe thinking of leaving, or they would like to start up their franchise but continue part-time potentially, build up their Reading Doctor franchise, and then maybe exit fully once they're got it up and running. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And we have deputy heads, Senkos, literacy leads, phonics leads, dyslexia assessors who are part of our network. So it is definitely attracting not just qualified teachers, but leaders from education. Not sure where our host is. Shall I just carry on? I can carry on. So yeah, it's perfectly designed for teachers because you're going to be teaching still. It's just that you won't have to do all that planning and preparation because all of that is done for you. We've designed all of our own resources. So you don't need to buy anything either. I come to your house and pick you up, deliver all the resources, and spend the day with you, get to know you. And there are 37 lovely reading doctors dotted around the country who also meet up, sometimes officially and sometimes not officially. We've got a message from Katie here. Oh, she's coming back on. I'm waffling away now. I don't even know if I've answered your question, Katie.
Deborah, you were doing a lovely job. Yeah, so I must apologise to the viewers. I just found out that StreamYard only allows 6 hosts at a time. So I'm trying to kind of jump off to make sure Tessa gets a say. So with the introductions, if you just want to take it in turn to introduce yourself and then pass on to the next person, no one needs to see my face for that long. So I will let the lovely Tessa back in. Thank you. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks for leading.
Will I go next? Hi, I'm Laura from Inventors Makers. So Inventors Makers is STEM workshops and clubs in primary schools and nurseries. Like Deborah, we only have qualified teachers that we take on as franchisees. It's a really important part of what Inventors Makers is. When we go into schools, we're always told by the teachers where we're running the workshops, oh my gosh, I can tell you're a teacher, gosh, I can relax, kind of thing. And that's something we're really proud of, that we kind of value ourselves as a premium brand that goes into schools, and so that we value that experience in teachers. So I think it's a really good fit for any teacher. You don't have to be a STEM expert at all. You have to be interested in it. That's what's really great about everyone here today, because I think everyone who's watching can probably figure out which area they're kind of more interested in. So yeah, it's great because as a teacher, you can obviously use all the expertise and all the experience that you've built up in the classroom. You go into classrooms, but you only do the fun bits. We all know, I used to be a teacher. I know what the fun bits of teaching are. They're the bits you do. You go in, you run an awesome lesson. It's hands-on, it's practical. There's all the aha moments, all those brilliant bits. And then you leave and there's no marking and nothing at the end of the day. You walk away and you go and do it somewhere else the next day. So it's really great because you can use your experience, you get to do all the good bits. Your customers are teachers as well. So you're not doing sales to loads of people that you don't even really know. You're just emailing schools and speaking to other teachers and solving their problems. You know what their problems are. You know how to speak to them because you are one. Finally, your workplace is really familiar as well. You know what schools are like, you know what your home is like, and those are really the two main places that you're working. So, you know, it is not only a great fit for teachers, I think, but it is only a fit for teachers. We really value everything that teachers bring. We're like a group of we're the newest franchise, I think, of everybody here. We've only been franchising a year, but everybody that is a franchisee is a teacher. And so we are a little team of people that have that in common already. So yeah. Shall I pick who goes next to make it not awkward? Anna, you're top left on my screen, so do you want to go next?
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everybody. I'm Anna Neville. I run Kidslingo, see the brand here. We teach French and Spanish to young children. We're a well-established franchise. We've been going about 12 years now. So we've got about 82 franchisees across the country and then about another 70 tutors on top of that. So as a whole team, there's about 150 Kidslingo people out there. For us, we have lots of teachers on board, but it's not exclusively teachers. So for our franchisees, there's no requirement to have QTS or to have previously taught in a school. What's important for us is obviously language skills. You've got to be a French or Spanish speaker, and you've got to have that passion and that enthusiasm. But I know this is predominantly an audience of teachers, but from a teacher point of view, it is a perfect fit, whether you're looking for a part-time option and to start off and do two jobs alongside each other, or as a full-time option. And we've got a whole mix within that group of people, some of whom are doing it as part-time alongside something else, but many of whom who are doing it full-time. And I completely understand everybody's viewpoint of I wouldn't want to just jump straight in. So there is that option, I think, with lots of franchises to start off on a part-time basis alongside what you're doing. So you've still got the security, but then over the longer term, transition into the franchise full-time. And I'm pretty sure everyone represented today would say their franchise does represent a full-time opportunity, but as a first toe in the water, as a first step, it can very much sit alongside other things that we do. So just in general, in terms of what we do, we go into schools, we go into nurseries, private homes, community, even online. And it's all about bringing languages to life and making them really fun for young children to learn. So that's our whole approach, is about inspiring young children to love languages. So any linguists out there, I would love to have a chat. I will pass over to Anne-Marie from Diddi Dance next.
Clicked it now. Hello, everyone. I'm Anne-Marie Martin. I'm the founder and franchisor of Diddi Dance. I apologise for my voice at the moment, but as a franchisor, I still teach classes as well. So I have lots on at the moment. But we've been going 22 years. We're not exclusively teachers, but we do have lots of ex-teachers within our network who have just found that a lot of them were secondary school teachers, actually, and lots of them that have joined us actually come from a secondary school dance or physical activity or PE based, but the level of dance that we teach is preschool level. So we're only under 5s. So actually you don't have to have any dance experience, just a level of coordination, because like Anna said, we are just looking for the right people that are passionate and engaged in the early years. So we love and try and find people that really can get down to that level and enjoy moving to music with them. So like all of us have, a franchise opportunity gives you an exclusive territory. And what we do is we actually offer 2 franchise territory packages. So we have found over the years that lots of the franchisees come in and take a management size franchise, and then they take on a team of teachers as well to run those classes with them. We have community classes, we do birthday parties, we go into nurseries, children's centres, we do intergenerational classes into care homes, and we do babies classes as well. So there's lots of different revenue streams. We also partner with Paradance UK and have a whole send program that we do as well. But we also have now, over the past couple of years, developed a part-time. So you're smaller, we call it a diddi franchise. And so what your exclusive territory gives you, and we all base this differently, as is based on demographic. So you get the same size area as somebody else based on the number of under 5s in your area, because we all know geographically it can look very different across the UK. So that is ideal for if you're looking for a part-time option. You maybe don't want to be overwhelmed with teaching full-time, but you're still passionate about doing it part-time, but you'd like something extra that you're also passionate about, and that's where our smaller offering can come in. So if you love working in the early years exclusively and you love being active, it's great for you keeping active as well. And as we know, moving to music is great, not just physically, but also for our mental health as well. If that sounds like it resonates with you, then we'd love to hear from you as well. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Tessa.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. And so MiniMe Mindfulness is all about teaching children calm, confidence, resilience through positive mindfulness, mindset techniques, and neuroscience. We blend them all together to really support children's mental well-being. I'm Tessa. I'm the founder of MiniMe Mindfulness and CEO. And like Anne-Marie, I still teach classes. I love seeing the whites of children's eyes and seeing them really kind of build that courage and that confidence and that resilience as we work with them. So we have created a curriculum of 25 superpowers that we teach to preschool, primary, and also now into high schools as well. I say also now because we have a mentoring for kids by kids program where my children are actually our meditation coaches. So every child hears from a child's voice. So engagement and energy is hugely important to us, not just only in our sessions, but the people that we look to partner with as well. So we have lots of teachers within our franchise network, but being a teacher isn't a requirement to become a franchisee. What we are really, really looking for is the right energy match for our brand, because we want to make sure that although what we teach is a very serious subject and there is a huge demand for what we do, we want to make sure that our sessions are fun, they're engaging, children turn up and they're excited for our sessions. We teach them a superpower they can use straight away, and they look forward to coming back the following week. So we want to make sure that we're the right fit for our franchisees and our franchisees are the right fit for us. And when we find that partnership, what we bring to the table as a franchisor, I spent 23 years in the city. I have a business background, so I love to teach business owners to succeed. So what I find with teachers as well is that they're perfect in terms of picking up our lesson plans and being able to kind of put together that session and deliver it, because that's what you do, that's what your skill sets are. And maybe the missing piece that you're looking for is that kind of business leadership and how to create a business and bring your passion to life in another way. So I love the fact that teachers are mainly in their role because they're passionate about making an impact. And that is what we offer, all of us offer as franchisors, because whatever you're, whether you're learning languages, whether you're building up your mental well-being resources, you're increasing your self-esteem through dance and confidence, or getting innovative as an inventor and maker, whatever you're doing, we're helping children, and that's why teachers are such a good fit for what we all do. And in terms of part-time teaching, as Anna has already kind of referenced, it is sensible to actually take on a franchise and maybe work it part-time and have that transition, so you kind of remove any of that anxiety or any of that kind of panic around having to create this income overnight, but you can build your confidence, build your skills, build your business, and we kind of link arms with our franchisees to do exactly that. So yeah, I love this industry. I think it's fabulous. What you do find is you're very well supported. You have the tracks to run on, which is the benefit of joining a franchise, because effectively, if you follow the system for success, you will end up a successful business owner. And if you choose a franchise that really speaks to you and that really kind of aligns with your values, then you will have really good fun building that success story as well. Colin, over to you.
Thank you, Tessa. And in the interest of chivalry, I'm being the only male on the panel. I don't mind going last at all. Yeah, my name is Colin Murphy. I run Choice Home Tutoring with my wife, otherwise known as the boss. Background-wise, I was a teacher for 21 years, built my way up to assistant headship level. In the meantime, we did set up the business, so it grown to a point where I left my teaching job and joined Choice full time. So that was nearly 10 years or so ago now. In terms of what we do, we traditionally, as the name says, it was all to do with home tutoring. So we would go in person as a tutor, or our tutors would go in person and tutor to our private customers. Since then, though, we've grown to work with schools, to work with local authorities. We were a government-approved tuition partner of the National Tutoring Programme when that run from post-pandemic to last year, 2024. Worked with various other agencies, including football clubs as well. So basically, what it involves from a franchise perspective is it's a management franchise. So you would be responsible for recruiting your own cohort of tutors for your in-person tuition. However, we do have a policy of sharing our tutors between our franchises, particularly obviously when geography is not involved, and we can use online tuition. So in terms of our delivery, as well as in person from the traditional standpoint, it's also online. Mostly one-to-one, but we do group work as well. We do workshop holidays. There's so many different strands to it. So it's it hasn't got that sort of particular niche, and we are open also to, although our franchise obviously has got a set model, we are open to new ideas that maybe we've not explored before. In terms of who we take on as franchisees, it doesn't really matter whether you have a teaching background or not, probably similar to what Tessa was saying. It is a scary moment when you've been a teacher for a very long time, and I was one for 20 years. You definitely are. I mean, I'm sure we've all come across this before. You definitely become institutionalized. You think, yes, I'm a teacher. That is me. I can't do anything else. The crossover skills that you have are, you won't recognize them as yet, but they are numerous. The business side of things, that will probably be the scary side. However, with decent training, that is something that you soon pick up, and obviously with ongoing support as well. In terms of who we like as franchisees, it's got to be a sort of, Tessa was saying again, it's got to be the right fit for us. It's very much a two-way street in terms of do your values match ours, and the other way around as well. So it's important that you do your research as to which franchise you would consider to be the best fit for you, but also spend a lot of time getting to know the franchisor. So even from making that decision, this is the way I want to go, we would recommend that you spend at least a few months before you sign on a dotted line or pay the initial fee, just because that relationship is, at a minimum, it's a 5-year relationship, and you've got to know that you're going to get on with your franchisor before you take that step. But certainly in terms of it working from a part-time perspective, we have a whole sort of spectrum of the way it works. I don't think we've had one franchisee who's completely give up what they were doing previously and then jumped totally on board with the franchise. They're always keeping something going in terms of revenue for themselves, in terms of an income. because it's stressful enough taking that big step onto becoming a business owner, if you like, as well as what you don't want to do is add on financial stress as well. So we're very happy for teachers to either carry on a part-time basis or full-time, or as the business allows, to pick up your own tutoring yourself, until, as it's been said before, until the business grows to a point where you think, actually, I need to spend more time on the business because it's reached that size. So you sort of reduce that teaching side of things. So that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It's it's great to kind of feel the energy off the screen of when you're talking passionately about your franchise. And I think that's so important, isn't it? You have all built businesses that you genuinely love, and you've done it because you've been in a place where that speaks to you and it speaks volumes to you. And I think that's the way to look at it. If you're a teacher and you're passionate about something in particular, we've got a whole range of different franchises, even here tonight, and no one's kind of competing against each other. You all work so well together. And I've been at sessions with you guys and franchise events, and you all look after each other as well. So yeah, definitely asking those questions is important. I would like to ask Deborah a few kind of deep dive questions, if that's all right, to learn a bit more. And then I know that you need to go due to a prior engagement. So I will start with you, if that's okay, Deborah. So I was thinking about, lots of teachers have deep expertise in literacy and SEND, but how can these skills translate to become a successful Reading Doctor franchisee?
So when I first set up the Reading Doctor, which was 13 years ago on my own, franchised it 6 years ago, I didn't know if just niching in reading was going to be the right thing, but I knew that was my passion and that was my expertise. Having been a teacher for 19 years and then also being dyslexic myself, and having two daughters, one who is dyslexic and one who's not. And that was really interesting, parenting a dyslexic child, even though I'd been a teacher for many years, and teaching a non-dyslexic child, and seeing that my dyslexic daughter needed to be taught in a different way. And quite specifically, she needed to be taught in a different way to the way she was being taught in school. And all of the Reading Doctors who come on board, all of the teachers that come on board, the thing they say is they want to leave teaching because they love teaching. And that's why they want to leave, because they want to teach the way they know the children learn. And the frustration of not being able to do that within the system. And it's the old thing, you keep repeating the same thing and expecting a different outcome. Einstein, sign of madness. And that's kind of what is happening in the education system. And the teachers who, when that resonates, then they are the kind of perfect Reading Doctor, because they know that they're not just going to be delivering a set curriculum, a national curriculum. They're going to be teaching children maybe or not who are in the system, increasingly not in the system. And they know that they need something different in order for the outcome to be different. So that's why we kind of niched in that. So we're looking for for potential Reading Doctors who can see that, we're looking for mavericks, really. We're not looking for people who just want to deliver a phonics scheme or follow the national curriculum standards exactly. We weave all of that in, but we don't just regurgitate what is taught in the classroom. So that's where we really stand out. And of course, reading is the key to the rest of the curriculum. It's the key to everything. And it changes life outcomes. If children can read, they are less likely to be in prison. They're less likely to be pregnant when they're young teenagers. They're less likely to get into crime, all of those things. So it is just, it's absolutely, fundamental. And, it fits with like mental health as well. So we have my daughter, who is actually a clinical psychologist. She's been heavily involved in the training and the creation of resources. So it is very sort of trauma informed. And unfortunately, we are really popular and in demand because of what is happening in the education system. So when I first started out, I bought all the maths stuff. I registered like the maths doctor domain and everything, but we just haven't needed to do that because we've just become more and more specialist in the reading. However, we do actually teach literacy. We do teach writing because reading and writing are reciprocal. So we teach spelling and handwriting as well. But we do it all through child-centered, child-led reading texts that the child's interested in. And yeah, I think I've answered your question there. But also there's what we do as well. So we've evolved with what's happening in society. So what started out as what I thought was like a mainstream kind of provision with children who are working at slightly below age-related standards has really become attractive to neurodivergent children because we do things differently and because we are trauma informed and we work to different neurotypes and we have become specialist in what we do. So all the resources we've created have really been created by the children we teach because their needs have driven us to create all our professionally made resources, both digital and physical. So we now do home tuition. We become part of the EOTAS packages, education other than at school. We teach lots of home educated children. We can teach online. So my goal has always been for my reading doctors to be able to teach anytime they like, any time of day or into the evening, because there's so many different options. You know, recently I had a reading doctor who ran a parent workshop in Waterstones, but they don't have to write the training module because that's all there for them. They can tweak it and personalize it, but that's, you know, we go into special schools, we've got a school intervention, so it's really flexible. And, you know, what brings me joy is seeing children who've been stuck for many, many years. Our reviews on Trust Index show this. They've been stuck for so many years and we are the only thing that has unlocked them. But what brings me equal joy is when I get messages or have conversations with husbands or partners of reading doctors and they say, thank you, I've got my wife back. Like she was leaving the house or he was leaving the house at 7 a.m, coming back at 6:30, then doing work in the evenings, not picking up our children from school, you know, and now I've got them back. So seeing that all my reading doctors have got into their hobbies, like one of my reading doctors wanted to do this because she wanted to ride a horse more. And we've got one reading doctor who's actually working out of a stable in a special school. So it's just really varied. And that's what I want. I don't want it to be the samey and for reading doctors to get bored. Yeah, so that's why we've kind of niched and we just do reading.
Yeah, don't believe me, Deborah. It's such an important niche, isn't it? And I think loads of teachers go into teaching because we genuinely have that passion that we want to help and we want to make a difference. And sometimes the curriculum is too narrow. And, you know, if you have taught, you've got those skills, haven't you? And then you can, you know, take on something like a franchise and use those skills in a very different way, but for yourself as well. Like you said, you know, balancing that work and horses, you know, that's great to be able to do that. So yeah, thank you. I've got one more question.
Teachers are always, just leading on from that, teachers are always sort of like guilt tripped into do it for the children, like stay late, come in on a Saturday, it's all for the children. But actually it is the, you know, put your own oxygen mask on first. We want our teachers to be healthy and happy and to have a good family life. We don't want them to wear themselves out. So I think, you know, for me, putting my franchisees' mental health and well-being first is like the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. You alluded to some of this, but I'd just like to drill down a little bit more on how flexible can you be as a reading doctor? Talk to me about, is it term time only, holidays, things like that, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, it's interesting because again, I thought it would be after school tuition, and that would mainly be it, and weekends. But it's evolved. So I'm sure everybody who on here and everybody listening will know there are more and more children being home educated, whether that's being funded by the local authority or their parents home educating them. So there is definitely daytime opportunity. And then, so a question I always get asked is, yeah, this, like you said, is it just term time? Actually, most reading doctors, they pick their own timetable, so it's not rigid. They don't have to. If they want to go on holiday in term time, they can do that. But they don't. Yeah. So, right. What was I going to say? Yeah. So they mainly do term time. So they have a timetable in the term, in their own timetable in term time. And then what a lot of reading doctors choose to do is to close down their term timetable, and in the school holidays, just open up a new term timetable. So they might decide they're just going to work on Mondays and Tuesdays throughout the holidays, or they might say, I'm not going to work for 5 weeks of the 6 weeks holiday, but for 1 week, I'm going to do back-to-back sessions. These are my times, everyone can book in. And we find the holiday slots are really useful when reading doctors get fully booked, because they can say to parents, sorry, I haven't got a space at the moment, I've got a waiting list. However, you could just do holiday slots, school holidays only. But then the latest review on Trust Index actually is a parent who said, I initially booked in for 6 weeks in the school holiday. 1 year later, my daughter is still going every week, absolutely thriving, the only thing that has worked for her. So it's about being like, I try and get my reading doctors to see, especially when they first start out, what a parent might sign up to initially. It always snowballs from that. And it's the same with schools. Oh, can you just come in and work with this one child? And then the head teacher or the Senko or the deputy says, oh, what about this other child? Can you work? And then it just snowballs. So yeah, it's really, really varied. And the parent workshops are really popular. I get some reading doctors who live close together. They'll get together and do a parent workshop in a local bookshop, to get that community feel. And then they do it because they really enjoy it, but also that's a brilliant marketing tool. They always get pupils from that. So, and I think the kind of teachers I attract, they are the teachers who they don't want to be doing the same thing every day. So, and I was like that. I didn't get bored as a teacher, but because I did lots of different roles when I was a teacher, I was the intervention lead for 10 years. But I know that I could not, even if the education system was perfect, I couldn't have worked in being a class teacher forever. So that's what I think is really, I've got one reading doctor who drives around, she's goes to 8 different schools. And she zips around with her trolley, with her reading doctor trolley, and her car with the magnet on, with the logo. And we all wear, we usually all just wear black, because our branding is very colourful, but the background is black. So yeah, it's exciting. And it's it was for me, like being a teacher, I didn't know anything about business. So when reading doctors come on board, they get all the 7 years of mistakes that I made in the very beginning. They don't have to make those mistakes because I've done all of those. My husband always says, if we had a skip, you could fill that with all the resources that you dismissed because they weren't quite good enough, or the font wasn't quite perfect, or the artwork wasn't quite as you want it. So all of that has been done. And and also one thing I forgot to mention, which is really important, as a class teacher, I felt it was my responsibility when I had 30 children in my class to look for the strength in every single one of those children. Whatever strength it was, pull it out and celebrate it. And that's how I view being a franchisor. I spot, and I think I'm quite good at this because my franchisees have told me I'm good at this, and I've only just equated it to my teaching. They said, you're really good at spotting when somebody is really good or passionate about something, and not using that, but they sort of went, and then using us, but I don't use them. What I do, but I pay them. So they become, I've got 8 of my reading doctors that are involved in our training modules, because I've got a qualified dyslexia assessor, so she delivers the dyslexia module. I've got, Senkos who deliver certain modules, speech and language specialists who deliver our speech and language therapists, clinical psychologists who, so I use all of their, and that adds to their success of their business, because that's a paid thing that they get. And it helps to bond the franchisees, because when a new franchisee comes on board, they've already met 8 reading doctors, and maybe more, because they always get a chance to talk to existing reading doctors before they come on board as well. So they already feel like they're part of the network. Like the day they sign, that's it. The first few weeks during their training, they've met a lot of the people. So when we have our annual festival, they're all hugging each other, but sometimes it's the first time they've met in person. So
it sounds like a really lovely team, and you've built a wonderful business there, and it's great that you're allowing other people to come in and share a bit about what you've created.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for telling us about the Reading Doctor and your journey and what you do. And I know you've got to go, so have a lovely evening, and we can
just say one other thing that I'm really proud of is a lot of our new reading doctors have been recommended by existing reading doctors, and that for me is a real celebration, because I call it organic growth, and that for me is the best sort of testament to it, when they're recommending their friends. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for listening, and really nice to see my fellow franchisor friends.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Deborah. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Hi, Anna. Sorry about that. Welcome back. Well, yeah, lots of interesting stuff about the Reading Doctor there. Let's crack on. Laura, I'd like to ask you, how do you support those teachers who don't have a STEM background, but they love the idea about being creative and doing sort of really hands-on learning sessions?
Yeah, so it's funny, I often get asked by people, oh, hang on, how do you teach engineering and you're not an engineer? And I'm like, well, look at teachers. They're teaching maths every day. They're not mathematicians. They're teaching poetry. They're not poets. In fact, my husband is an engineer and he would be a terrible teacher. So, he laughs that I teach engineering when I can't fix something at home. He's like, you teach this. So it's definitely, like I said, it's not something that you have to be an expert in at all, because we have made all of the lessons. Sorry, my dog is scratching at the door. We've made all of the workshops, all of the after school clubs, all the content exists. And so it's kind of like we have videos of everything, training on everything. We say, have a go at making the stuff. So actually part of your workday is making a tower out of craft sticks or whatever. You get to try it out. And do you know what? The kids actually teach you so much. You go in and you'll do an activity and say, oh, we're going to, make a bridge, or we're making boats, which is what I was doing earlier today. And then they do something in an amazing new way, and you have to then share with everyone, oh my gosh, look what this 7-year-old did. I've never thought of doing it like that. So that's what's really great about it. It is creative. You're not really sitting at the front of the class showing them something incredible. You're giving them ideas, teaching them the concepts, and then they're creating things. So it is very child-led. But we have a support system of, not only do you get a very thorough session plan and a video of almost all of our workshops, because we have virtual versions of everything, so you can actually watch us teach it. But I have a teacher that works for me full time in Inventors Makers, in head office. She does most of the workshops and most of the clubs now. She's amazing, was a 20-year teacher. Talks about how she kind of lost her spark in the classroom and now very much has it back, gets to do what she loves all the time. And you kind of have what we call a tips and tricks call with her. So when you're about to go and do a workshop, you have a booking a call with her and she'll say, oh, do you know what, like if they come in late from break, this is the bit I'd skip. Or, you know, when I pack up my bag, you know, you've got all these things. The best way to do it is to block them into like little packs before you go in. So all of that stuff that is so valuable and is going to save you time, we have thought about it because we've taught everything so many times. And then, but we create new stuff every year. So we're about to launch a bunch of artificial intelligence workshops, so Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. We're testing them, or we finished testing them. I'm recording them all now. And then we'll teach them to our franchisees. So then it'll be like, hey guys, here's the videos. Here's a bit of background reading about artificial intelligence and education and kind of where the policy is and where schools are with this. You don't obviously have to understand all that, but it's useful background for when you're having conversations. And then here's the lesson, and it's ready to teach. Yes, we write a script, but we all know that teachers aren't going to want to follow a script. You know, that's why we have teacher franchisees, because they are going to put their own spin on it. And yes, you've only got an hour, so you can't talk all day about your own experiences. But put your spin on it. Watch us do it. Here's the slides. Here's the outline, but do it your way. So yeah, you definitely don't have to be an expert, but you have to be willing to have a go, I would say.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anne-Marie, I would like to ask you about what does the first kind of 6 to 12 months typically look like for a Diddi Dance franchisee, especially if they're still teaching part-time or working somewhere else part-time?
Well, I think the beauty that we are only preschool is, like a lot of the others have said, is you can run all of these sessions during the day, so it's not eating into your evenings and weekends if you don't want it to. So again, like everybody else, we go through a full 10-step launch program. We have a full training program. We have a whole operations manual and a launch manual, all of these different things. So there's a full flexible training program, like all of us do in franchising. That's the whole point. You come in, it's all done for you. All of our lesson plans, all of our music is originally written and owned by us as well. And then once you're trained up, we work with you with all of our years of experience, because also you're not just buying into 22 years of experience of me doing it as the founder, but also you're buying into that whole network of 36 other people who've been running it for all different lengths of time as well. So you're immediately met with that support. And that first 6 to 12 months is about flexibility. So really, if they are, so we've got a couple of teachers and teaching assistants at the moment, and they are, our most recent one, she was doing 4 days a week. And so she was like, okay, I fancy just doing the classes. I'm going to do just Wednesday mornings. And actually, my older daughter she's in her own dance classes at weekends. So I'll start a Saturday morning class. And she just started with that for a term. And then quickly the demand grew. So then she was 2 classes on a Saturday. And then as things grew, it was then that she decided to cut down more on her teaching assistant work. And that's when she built up 2 extra days doing the classes, going into, I think she's got a couple of nursery contracts now as well. So it was finding that balance of, okay, the demand is here and I don't want to miss out on those opportunities, but I need to bring my other work down as well. So that first 6 to 12 months is really about finding that balance, growing your business. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, growing a business, whether it's a franchise or not, is a lot of work. But that is also where having that hand to hold of showing you how to do it, supporting you, all the ongoing training that you get with a franchise, monthly Zooms, our newsletters, annual conference. We have guest speakers in on our monthly Zooms all the time. We've got a private online forum where all the franchisees chat together and share best practice, but, also go, oh, this isn't going so well. What can I do? So you've got all that support there to hold your hand when in that first 6 to 12 months, you probably have many days where you will be going, what have I done? Oh my goodness, running a business is so hard. But that is where we are there for you and all the other franchisees as well. So you'll have roller coaster moments. It's hard work to get anything launched, but you've got that support and that flexibility around you to pick your own hours and run the classes and the sessions when you want to. Oh, Katie, we can't hear you.
I do apologize. I was saying it was really nice to hear about someone's lived experience as well of taking it on part-time and then, you know, growing it and dropping a bit of the TA work. And I think that's the nice thing, isn't it, is the choice is yours, and certain franchises really nurture that sort of part-time work. So it was really nice to hear about that lady's lived experience. Colin, I'm going to come to you with my next question, if that's okay. I would like to know what a typical week looks like for a franchisee who's working with you part-time.
Well, in terms of the time devoted to the franchise, obviously that's dictated by everything else that they've got going on in their life. So the part-time job, I assume that's set time. So obviously they have to fulfill that. You know, if you're a teacher, it might be that you're doing 2 or 3 days. In which case, in terms of the time that you're devoting to the franchise, you've only got, on those days that you're working part-time, you've only got your evenings. But also, you've got those days that you're not working, and you can use your weekends as well if you so wish. I think the beauty of working within a franchise for yourself is not having those set times. So you can work basically when you want to work. And you know, when we started our business up, we had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn baby. So I was still working full time in teaching. My wife basically was running the business. However, her priority was being a mum. So for us, the growth of the business was actually quite a slow burner. But very quickly we realised, because we basically tutor everything. You know, it's all subjects and all ages. And tutoring 15 years ago is not what it is now. You know, there's so much out there, so many different models. With what we were doing and the way we were doing it, which was sort of a real sort of personalised approach. Joe would spend the time going out to meet every new customer, getting to hear exactly what their needs were. You know, she'd spend a good sort of 20-30 minutes with each customer, and that would always really guarantee the fact that they would come with us, and you know, we provide them with a tutor. So it depends where you are in you know, everything else that's going on within your life. But because you come on board as a franchise with us, the idea obviously is not for you to have that slow burn like we did. It's very much a case of trying to get you to hit the ground running. So similar to what Anne-Marie was saying there, you know, there's quite an intensive or comprehensive training time, which is around sort of 20 to 25 hours, depending on how much and how quickly you can pick that up. And then we go to launch. And when we launch, we try and sort of do it, you know, all singing, all dancing, various online campaigns, all kinds of marketing materials come your way. And that we in terms of sort of that hand holding that, again, Anne-Marie was talking about, it's to start off with, I'm sure you guys find it exactly the same. Our franchisees are in need of us pretty much on a daily basis, because everything is new for them, and until they get sort of to learn each sort of individual process. In which case, you know, you can start to let go a bit. But even sort of our longer term franchisees, I still meet with them on a weekly basis. You know, it's a similar sort of thing to, again, sorry, Anne-Marie, that's the third time I mentioned your name. We have the group Zooms as well. We have our annual conference. We always make an effort to get out to each franchisee's territory at least twice a year if we can, to work with them in whatever capacity they need us, whether that's, you know, leaflet dropping or doing some sort of marketing campaign with them. So the idea of how a typical, I haven't really answered your question thinking about it there, have I? The idea of what a typical week looks like, it's just so varied. But the beauty of it is, like I'll come back to in that initial statement, is that the time is your own. So you don't mind flipping the laptop open after your day's work, and after you've got your own kids and you put them to bed, you don't mind flipping your laptop open at 10 o'clock at night, which sounds ridiculous, particularly as a teacher. You think, well, where do you get the energy from to do that? It's a different energy that you sort of use because you're working now for yourself. And then the more you put into that side of it, the more you build it, the more you can reduce what you were previously doing. And then all of a sudden you're starting to get your life back. So it's really hard to start off with. There's no doubt about that. Any business starting up, it's hard work. But the fact that you're doing it as part of a franchise means that you are really supported, and you've got a much greater chance of it being a success. So I'm not quite sure if that answered the question, but it gives you some sort of insight.
I think that is important, isn't it? That, I mean, it's a difficult one to answer, I suppose, because you can work in various different ways depending on how much you're committed to your teaching and how much you're committed to your franchise. So yeah, it was a bit of a curveball. Sorry, Colin, but thank you very much for explaining. Anna, I'd like to come to you now, and I would like to know what's the most rewarding feedback that you've had from a teacher who's now one of your franchisees?
Wow, that's a lovely question to be able to answer, and I think it's a very recent piece of feedback actually, where someone just said, "You've changed my life," and I think we're all very conscious, as is the audience listening to this, of how so many teachers are feeling in the environments in which they're working, whether that's in primary, whether that's in secondary, a subject-specific level, whether it's in a teaching assistant role, whether it's in a management role, whether it's in a class teacher role. It's really, really tough out there, and it's having a huge impact on people's lives, their mental health, absolutely spending time with their family, absolutely everything. And we've had lots of teachers come to us who have been really through the mill, have had really horrible experiences, feel quite traumatized after that, and really feel very, very lost about what they can do. And to have that feedback of, you have changed my life, it is really, really significant. And we're all franchisors here. We've all spend a lot of time and energy on our businesses, and it's that sort of feedback that keeps us fired up and keeps us going on, that we know that through our hard work, through our creation of our franchises and the framework and the support and the training and all the amazing things that people have talked about today, it can change people's lives. So yeah, I'd say that one. And living the life that I want to is what people have said, is that it gives me that balance between my home life, my professional life. And I always use this phrase, and people have used it back to me, you're working for yourself, not by yourself. And I think it's that level of empowerment of doing something for you rather than just for a bigger entity, whether it be a corporate, whether it be a school, whether it be a trust, all of those things. You're not doing that anymore. You're doing it for yourself, but you're not on your own. You're with, you're part of a bigger team. You're part of a bigger entity, and you've always got somebody there to turn to support you through that journey, whether you're doing it, a few days a week, or whether you're doing it full time with a whole big team.
Mm-hmm. That's so powerful, isn't it, what you've said? And that's it. I mean, you go into teaching, it's quite sort of selfless in a way, isn't it, when you go into teaching to start with, and you do throw everything at it, but it does come to a point where you need to actually do something for yourself. And if you can do something like that and build a business that you really love and appeals to your values, like Tess was saying earlier, that's really important, isn't it? And just that simple phrase, like just changing someone's life, I mean, yeah, it's a wow moment, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And going back to what Anne-Marie said as well, running a business is not easy, but to be honest, being a teacher, I think, is harder. Surviving day to day in the classrooms with all of the challenges that go on, not just in that 9 till 3:30 when you're in the classroom, but many hours before, many hours afterwards, the weekends, the dread, all of those things that I know so many teachers are feeling. And it's heartbreaking that teachers are feeling that way, because they are the lifeblood of our nation. If our children aren't educated and inspired, then what's the future? But I suppose what all of us are offering is that opportunity to inspire and be in education, but just in a different way and on your own terms. And that's that's the beauty of the flexibility of what we offer, and the empowerment that it gives people.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. That actually leads really nicely onto my question for Tessa. So Tessa, I was going to ask you why you think, because I know that you're working a lot in schools and a lot with teachers, why do you think mindfulness and emotional learning kind of resonates so strongly with teachers right now?
I think mental well-being is at an all-time low across the nation, and teachers are seeing the impact of that in their classrooms, and seeing the dysregulation that disrupts, I suppose, the career that they thought they may have. I know earlier, Laura, you said teachers want to leave teaching because they love teaching, and that, I think, the impact of what's happening in the classroom has a ripple effect on the teachers as well. So their mental well-being is really low, and therefore mental well-being needs to be front of at the forefront of everything that everyone's doing, because we need to flip the narrative, because actually it used to be a noble thing to put yourself last and actually serve everybody else ahead of you. Someone said earlier, actually, if you're on a plane and the oxygen mask come down first, you need to put your oxygen mask on first before you're serving everybody else. And of course, we know that with mindfulness and with mindset techniques, if we can teach children and teach adults how to look after themselves and how to manage their own thoughts and their minds and their own mental well-being, then everything benefits. The focus in the classroom, the teachers' energy levels, the ripple effect of their energy that goes through, not just from them, but into their classrooms, into their homes. And, and if we can change the set of the sail to bring mindfulness and mindset techniques to the forefront, every subject and every person will flourish because of that. And I truly believe that one of the key things that's missing, because the thing is, there's so much in the curriculum that the teachers need to teach, and actually everything's important, but if you haven't got the focus and you haven't got the right mindset when you're stepping into that classroom, when the children are sitting down on that carpet, when they're sitting down at their desk, if you haven't got that and you don't know how to bring that back, then it's again, the negative ripple effect goes as well. And I think a lot of the teachers are feeling that. The recent teacher study that just came out, that teaching is at an all-time low. So we've actually, by being in the classrooms, both preschool, primary and high schools, one of the things that we get, the most regular thing that we get, comment we get, is that, Tessa, we need this for us. Like the teachers saying, we need this for us. And then the parents that come to our community settings and our holiday camps, they're like, do you know what? How do I teach little Jimmy this at home? So everyone's trying to understand how to be part of the solution. And that's what we teach. We teach, we teach children. But what we've also heard, because of all of this feedback we've had, I truly believe that children are at the center of everything we do, but we also need to support the adults around them. So we've also entered into the staff wellbeing arena, and we have our online digital courses for parents as well, so that everyone can learn together. So we're really linking arms and bringing mindfulness and mindset techniques to communities in a fun and innovative way. All of our courses are all CPD accredited, whether we're teaching an in-person course in a classroom, an online course, a digital course in a classroom, or digital courses for adults as well. It's all CPD accredited. So we know the quality of our materials and our courses are really high level, but they're also really fun and really engaging as well, because we know that, if to be able to for children to want to kind of learn more and embrace the subject, it has to be fun, it has to be playful, it has to be engaging, and that's what we've managed to do with mindfulness and mindset techniques. Although everyone's kind of children come to our session and they think going to switch the lights off and everyone's going to meditate and be completely zen, but the fact is we're teaching them what goes on in here, how to change their energy levels, and that's what we achieve, to fill that toolkit for life. And the reason why, coming back to your question, is that mindfulness and mindset is so important right now is because the toolkit for life, we are all on this planet only but once. And to be able to fill our toolkits with all the things that help us, not just as children or in this classroom, but at home and as we walk through every day of our life, I think they are crucial skills to learn that have a ripple effect in ensuring that we flourish in every single subject. So for me, it's the starting point of everything, and yeah, and that will, and you know, in terms of the importance, it is more at the forefront because of the mental kind of well-being catastrophe that we kind of the planet has kind of found itself in. So we're finding our way out of it, and we're realizing we need to teach the skills, and we need to teach them in a relevant way, through, you know, through fun and innovative sessions, which is what MiniMe Mindfulness have absolutely cracked.
Excellent. Thank you, Tessa. Thank you. So I know all of you have employed teachers as franchisees. So I'm just going to open this question out. So feel free to take your mics off and answer this. The most rewarding thing that you found from a teacher, a particular teacher that's become a franchisee. I know Anna sort of mentioned a bit about this before, but it'd be nice to hear from some other people about those kind of rewarding moments. So yeah, if you could tell me a rewarding moment that you've had from a teacher who's now one of your franchisees, that would be nice to hear.
Yeah, happy to. So I think one of our teachers that became a franchisee, she was so coachable, which I absolutely love. What I love about teachers and it's being coachable and being a really good student as well as a really good teacher, because we all have systems in place. We all have, you know, those training portals in place and the programs to be able to teach what we do. So having someone who's a really good student, and when they do follow that to the T, and they kind of build this business, they kind of, I liken it to kind of like when I became a mum, and, you know, when your baby gets to 1, you kind of look back and you think, oh, I can look after a child after all, you know, because but when you first enter into that arena, no one gives you the handbook, etc. So the thing is, obviously, franchising is so much easier because you do get the handbook, and therefore, if you follow the instructions, you kind of get to the end of that first year and you think, wow, I can be a business owner. I'm a business person now, and I have my own business that I can look at and be proud of, because as Anne-Marie and everyone's alluded to, it's hard work building your own business. But when you get to I think that's the amazing thing. Just we believe so much in our franchisees that come on board, because we've offered them to the right people, and we've recognized something in them that they will be a great fit for our organization, and therefore they are invited to join us. And when they then, and we see something in them before they see it in themselves, and when they get that light bulb moment, it's like, look at what I've done, and it's like, yes, you've built a fabulous business. And it's, you know, you're able to go to the gym in the morning, and then as Colin said, fit everything in your diary as you choose, and be empowered, as Anna alluded to. It's like that empowerment of, I've now created the life that I'm really happy and fulfilled with, and I'm still teaching, and I'm still doing the things that I absolutely love to start with. So I can have it all. I think that's the biggest compliment I think any franchisor can get, to know that someone's followed your system for success. They succeeded, but they know that they've done it. They put the hard work in, and they've just been highly coachable and followed the system.
Excellent. Thank you. Anne-Marie, have you got a wow story from a teacher?
Well, one of our teachers was a secondary school dance teacher. And so I think coming into the preschool sector, into the early years, was opposite ends of the scale. And so it's a little bit daunting for her. But all the feedback we got in the first couple of years was just like, wow, this is just not just like we all do, with the flexibility that running your own business, you are picking it, you are in control of your own destiny, and you're building those rewards knowing that you are reaping those. But I think for her it was a different level, because when we work in the preschool sector, we are so responsible for these little children's sponges, as they are, of their firsts. And it's why I started Diddi Dance, because 22 years ago, you know, all dance classes were very disciplined, and it was quite instructional. And so I wanted a child's first experience of dancing to be a really positive, really fun one. I wanted them to enjoy those special moments with their grown-ups dancing together. And I think for her, it was this emotional reward that she wasn't quite ready for. And so that feedback was amazing. But also I think when you coming to a franchise network, it's that recognition as well. You get recognized for doing all that hard work. We have internal awards, we have monthly celebrations, but also our children's activity sector has got lots and lots of awards events and great recognition evenings. There's one coming up next week, and this particular franchisee has won an award there for the past 2 years. And so she was just, I get acknowledged and rewarded for what I do now, as well as making a difference, and those little ones in their early years going on to be really sociable, confident and happy children when they start school. It was that personal recognition of all this hard work that I'm doing, I'm award winning for now as well. So that was just amazing.
That's really lovely, really lovely. Colin and Anna and Laura, I'd just like you guys to answer this next question about your top tip. And so I think it's nice to hear all different perspectives, because Laura's obviously, you said you were brand new to the franchise world, and we've got Colin and Anna who are old hands at it. I don't want to be like rude, sorry. Established, shall we say? Yeah, established. Not, yeah, I'll stop with that. What top tip would you give someone who's sort of on the fence and they're sort of thinking, you know what, I love teaching, but I would like to do something for myself. I would like to perhaps run a business. What's your kind of top tip? And we'll start with Colin, if that's okay.
Well, it sort of goes back to what I mentioned earlier on about it's so important to do your research. So we've sort of accidentally hit on a way of recruiting franchisees for ourselves, whereby, because of most of them have a teaching background or a tutoring background, they sort of dip their toe in with us as a tutor initially. So by doing that, they're starting a working relationship with Choice, and they get a real sort of good feel for how it works. And I mean, once that's developed, so our last 4 franchisees, I think, on the bounce, were all tutors with us first. So for us, I think Deborah mentioned earlier on about that sort of organic growth. You tend, if you advertise your franchise, and I don't know what the other guys on the panel do, if you go out to sort of the generic franchise portals, which are not cheap at all, you tend to not get all that appropriate applicants or decent matches for what you want. Whereas you're pretty much guaranteed a good match if you've got somebody who's already tried out your company. So, you know, if the teacher's on here looking to do anything involving tutoring, so I know everybody's got sort of a different model, then I would recommend doing that first. If you've got a company or 2 in mind, just work with them as a tutor for a while and just get a feel for how you know, the company's ethos and values and everything else. You know, and that can go a long way to make your decision one way or another if that's a company you'd like to represent yourself.
It's similar with us, Colin, actually, yeah, that we've got quite a lot of, we've got our franchisees, and below them we've got their teams, and very often people start as a team member and then get a taste for it, and get in more of an inside track and see what it's actually like on a day-to-day reality basis, and then they decide to take on their own franchise, or sometimes we've had franchisees who've come to the end of that journey and they sell their business on to somebody who's within their team as well. But yeah, to go back to the question, I think having confidence in yourself is the main thing I would say to people. So many teachers say to me, oh, I haven't got a clue about business, I don't know how to do marketing. And honestly, teachers make fantastic franchisees because they are so organized, they are so good at multitasking, they're so good at working under pressure, or they love kids, they love the education system. So, you know, all of those things put together actually makes them really, really good business people. And I think sometimes they just have to believe in themselves. And going back to it as well, I think it's having somebody there who believes in them as well. And that's part of our role of the franchisors, is to spot those talents, to see those things in people which actually maybe just sort of a little bit below the surface, or they've tried to make the most of those in their work environment and they've just been stamped down because they've just got to follow this, they've got to follow that, they've got to get on with this process. And actually a franchise environment allows you that chance to flourish, but with the hand holding as well. So I would just say, have confidence in yourself, and it's always going to be scary. You know, no one is ever 100% sure that they are doing the right thing. But I think that sometimes is that's a very natural part of life. And actually, if something's worth it, it's worth feeling a little bit scared about. But embrace that fear. We're here in our respective businesses to help you along that process. And I think sometimes you've just got to take that leap and just do it, because if you don't, there's never a change.
Yeah,
and that's
wonderful
it.
advice.
Just making that first step.
That's
that
exactly what I was going to say. I was just quickly Googled for it, but I couldn't find it. There's a really good, and I'm sure it's Henry Ford, it might not be, quote about, it's something like, I'm not going to say it half as well, something like, if you never change anything, you can't expect anything to ever be different, right? And so I feel like if you're in a place where things aren't quite right, I'm not saying franchising is necessarily the best route, but it could be a route. And, the first step has got to be to figure out what it is that you want to do. And that's why we're all very able to talk here together, because, you're either going to want to do a language or tutoring or dancing or mindfulness or STEM. It's unlikely that multiple of those will be something that you imagine yourself doing. So what is it that you would love to do within education or something else if it's not one of these? And then once you've imagined that you can do that, speak to the franchisor, speak to one of us or another franchisor, speak to the franchisees, what's their experience? Because we get that you might not feel comfortable asking us some questions, but you can ask another franchisee. I'd be wary if a franchise wouldn't let you speak to a franchisee, go and speak to them, speak to another franchisee if you want to get different experiences. And then something that I kind of always say as well is, you don't have to do this forever. You are still a qualified teacher. You will still have a job in a school one day if you want to go back to it. Like, this isn't a commitment for the rest of your life. You can try it. If it doesn't work, if you don't love it, you can, back away. You can sell franchises. You don't have to renew your franchise when it's up. It's sometimes, and like Anna said, sometimes taking that risk is the scariest, but actually maybe the most exciting thing you'll ever do.
Yeah, that's a really nice note to end on, actually, Laura. I like that. I mean, that's the whole point, isn't it? That you can join any one of these in a kind of part-time basis, and you'll learn stuff about yourself along the way as well. And that might be that you want to put more energy into that franchise, but it might be that you want to keep the two, balancing the two, the teaching and the franchising. But you've got this incredible wealth of knowledge. Like you said, all of you guys have lived and breathed all the problems, all the faults, all the kind of screwed up pieces of work like Deborah's filling a skip with. You've done all of that hard work. So then you can support people in such a nice, nurturing way. And it's in your best interest to get the right people that totally love what you do and resonate with what you do as well. So yeah, thank you all so much for your time today. It was really nice just having a bit more of a deeper dive into how it looks, like how franchising looks part-time whilst teaching. And I do recommend to any teacher who's sort of on that fence thinking, oh, should I do it? Have a little bit of courage, speak to these people. They're all lovely. No one's scary. Have a chat with them and just find out more. Do your research, like Colin said, and you might surprise yourself. So thank you all so much for being guest speakers tonight. I do appreciate it. And thank you all for watching. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.